of the April 5th meeting for acceptance. Do we have a motion to accept those minutes?
Second.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The next item on the agenda for acceptance is the minutes of the August 2nd, 2023 meeting of the Board of Health. Do we have a motion to accept the minutes?
Motion to accept.
Second.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Next item on the agenda. The next item on the agenda is the monthly development services report submitted by Senior Sanitary Code Inspector Jimmy Lee. And the first item is the food inspections. Hi, Jimmy.
Good evening, board. So we're making our way through kind of rebuilding our database as far as, all of our records on inspections. So this list is, bigger than it normally is. We still haven't gotten everything back, so I'm just kind of building it from scratch.
Okay.
Does this represent all the food?
No, just what we did within that time frame.
How many establishments are there in Lowell?
So brick and mortars, there's probably about 600 something, plus all the traveling mobile stuff.
Right.
And then, yeah,
Okay. A lot.
there's a lot.
Okay.
For
So it looks like a lot of failures, but it's just you're backtracking on some of these. Is that it?
You talking about this list? This is everywhere that has passed.
I'm sorry.
this
Is
is-
your microphone on? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Excuse.
Okay.
This is everybody that has been inspected, passed or failed, but
Right.
this list here is just a failed list,
Right.
which have all been in compliance at this point.
Okay. So Espresso seems to be a frequent flyer. Are they on a shorter leash or more frequent inspection?
For this, I wouldn't put them on that kind of leash only because
For this
for our experience, when ASAP sold their hood cleaning service, everything kind of got messed up, and so a lot of people are waiting on their hood cleaning. For espressos, the only thing that we, keep an eye out for is the rodent issue. It was like probably last year or something. They had a really, really bad issue, which we closed them, and they did everything they could. They got like a dozen guys in there from Servpro cleaning the whole thing out. So
Okay.
they did a really good job on responding to that.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Anything on the failures that you want to comment on?
They're not on this list, but A&R African Market, which came here last month, we ended up letting him sell just packaged food, professionally packaged food, and all the food that he cooks or consumes there, which he claims to be his lunch, has to be done so in his office space and not his commercial kitchen. Went out there earlier just to make sure, he knew what we were looking for, and if he was stayed in compliance and listened, and he hasn't. So he kind of filled back all of those freezers that he's emptied the last time Lisa, Dave Fuller, and myself went out there. He's kind of just went back to business as usual.
He went back to doing what he was doing before that we asked him not to do.
Right.
Does he have a food license? Jimmy, does he have a food license?
So he got a permit. He technically came in to just purchase a permit, and the office clerks here just didn't know any better. They didn't know this was going on, so they just issued it to him. So with that permit in hand, he thinks he has free reign to do whatever he wants.
Except that for what transpired at the last Board of Health meeting, in terms of what we told him that he could and couldn't serve.
Correct.
Okay.
So did you close him back down again, or is he still open?
I mean, at this point, my communication with him has kind of just broken down completely. So I'm just going to request that Lisa and David Fuller, we follow up on that this week. I'm not sure, I'm going to leave it up to them to decide. But the last time, our plan was to slowly ease him back into food preparation. And the first step was prepared food only.
Okay, so maybe Lisa, you want to jump in and let us know what the plan is?
So I think I've seen the communication between the business owner and Jimmy Lee. I believe Jimmy Lee's done the right thing in stepping back and not being confrontational. So we can follow up with Dave tomorrow and come up with a plan. But I agree, the three of us probably should go out there and give him a letter in person and decide with Dave, because he does have the permit to sell things on the property. So we'll have to decide whether we're going to close the full business down or what we're going to do from both sides, and then decide what to do at that point in time, whether the full establishment's going to be closed down or not. And then we will have him come before the board at the next meeting.
But to be clear, this board made it clear to him and make it clear to you, if he's preparing food, it gets shut down.
Correct.
Okay.
And I will, Jimmy and I will talk to Dave about that tomorrow.
Kathleen, did you want to say something?
I have a difficult time hearing Jimmy, but I think, are we talking about the gentleman that came last time and we said you only serve 3 times?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so if he's not following those guidelines, and what I kind of asked you in the conversation, that at this point, we need a plan for follow-up on that.
Right. So the plan is for the building inspector and Jimmy and Lisa to go out there because of what Jimmy found on his last visit. He's preparing and selling the things that he doesn't have. We asked him not to. So
What's going on? I mean, I feel like we were fairly clear last time.
right. Okay.
I think that you have to do something for it here if it's not quite there.
Right.
And here, the agreements that we made with them, this, I can go with these, are unfortunate.
Right. Okay. I'll turn it back to you, Jimmy. Anything else?
Nope, that's all I've got for this month.
And there's one body art failed inspection.
That's correct.
Okay, and next on the
Hold on, was that corrected? Has that been corrected? Are they back open and all set? Or no?
Who is this?
The body art.
Not at this moment. We did offer some solutions. She wanted to be here to kind of talk about those tonight. At this point, she is not in compliance.
Okay.
And she's not here tonight.
She doesn't look like it, no.
Okay. Okay. All right. And then, as part of your report, we have Mr. Underwood here tonight to talk about the update on the Pawtucket Memorial School's mold issue. Thank you, Jimmy.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
So, the one thing I don't want to do is I'm not going to get into the cause of what, how it happened, but I can tell you this: what we found, the steps we're taking, and where we'll be going from here. You may remember a couple of years ago, I think it was 2 years ago, we experienced the same issue, but at a much larger scale. At that time, we thought we knew the cause of it. We took actions at that time, did all the things that we thought were the right moves. Obviously, we're experiencing it again, so this time around, we're bringing in, some real professionals. So I can tell you on Tuesday, the 23rd, around 6:15 a.m., I was notified by the custodian that they had seen mold, large amount of molds on the ceilings of the school. When I got there shortly after that, what I found was a surface mold on just the ceilings in the school. Unlike before, it was really in many different locations, on the rugs, on the furniture. This was predominantly, really, I shouldn't say predominantly, the only place we found it was on the ceilings. The ceilings are of metal origin. We believe that air conditioning or whatever, a lack of, caused some type of condensation on those ceilings and thus created mold. So I made 2 phone calls. I called the City of Lowell, Paul St. Cyr, the building commissioner, and I called ServPro to come in and assess knowing we were a few days from school we were trying to move this as quickly as possible. Cleaning took place starting, I believe, on Friday. Negative air pressure machines were set up in the rooms. The rooms were sealed off. At that time, we had identified 10 rooms along that side of the school that were affected. Within the next day or so, as cleaning one, we started noticing some other areas of concern, so we broadened that scope by Saturday. So we had crew come in. You start to lose track of days, but I believe it was Sunday night to do a cleanup, and then air quality testing done again on Monday. So after the first round of testing, everything came back fine, other than one room that was higher than the outside levels on the opposite side of the building, which we really didn't know what caused that. So again, we broadened the scope. We brought in cleaners again, did the same type of cleaning services with ServPro, set up negative air pressure machines, sealed off that room. The next morning, we had that particular room air tested. But we did it Monday around 9 o'clock at night. We tested that room, but we also did a full test of the entire building. So we did over, I believe, 24 samples one day, 26 samples another day, and then there was some more after that. So we've done, and EFI Global, who was our hygienist, had said they have never done more testing in a building ever. Because it's typically one or two areas of the building, you're getting a collective picture of the building, but we really wanted to try to get a full picture of what was going on in that building. So we don't know the root cause of it. What we've done since then and continue to do is we brought in a HVAC company to look at the mechanicals part of the building to make sure everything was running as designed. We did find a few things that had to be addressed and are being addressed. After that, we brought in Logic Automotive Services, who is a controls company, because part of the HVAC system is making sure it's running, but also making sure it's running effectively with dampers and whatnot. So we've taken that step. We still don't have any real answers, to be honest with you, on what's caused this. This is the third time in maybe 4 years. And from what I understand from the staff, it's happened prior to that also. So we know we have a problem in that building. So now we're bringing in, starting tomorrow, which is, I'm sure you're well aware, we're not having school tomorrow, so it gives us the time to get some people in there. An industrial hygienist to look at the plans in the building, to really get into the things that we don't know, above the ceilings, what's that roof structure made of? Was there a roof put on another roof? Just all that stuff that we don't really know. We did track down a full set of plans to the building. Those will be handed over to the company, and we hope to give some more answers on not only what we did to clean up, but we want to get some answers to you on, what caused it and what we can do to prevent it. I'm happy to answer any questions if I can.
Are these occurring at the same time every year? Are they always in the summer, or is it random?
It's always 5 days before school starts.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Right? But I will say, I left out one part of that. About 4 weeks ago, now the AC system has not been working in this building for quite some time. When the first incident happened, we were actually having too much AC. And the air conditioning unit was running out of control and really cooled the building so much that we thought, and I say we thought because we're all putting our heads together, well, the building's so cold and it's so hot outside, the building condensed because there was water everywhere, and it was condensing, and we thought that was the cause of it. So we thought it was the air conditioning. But now here, about 3 or 4 weeks ago, we did not have the air conditioning running, and I got a call that there was surface mold on some of the area rugs in this building. So we went over and looked at that. Didn't think it was a major concern because it was localized to a few rooms. It was on throw rugs. We shampooed those, we steam cleaned them, we put them out to dry, and then what we did is we brought in 15 window air conditioners to condition the space. We thought that was going to do the trick, that condition those spaces. It was localized in those 10 rooms of that wing. We don't know if those air conditioners in those rooms caused the condensation on the metal roofs. We really don't know that yet, but again, we're going to try to get some answers to this for the Board of Health, for the City Council, for the school department, the staff, and really, everybody, because it's a mystery to me right now. Any questions? Concerns?
So just one suggestion in terms of so you obviously notified the appropriate people at DPW and in the school side. I just would like to say that when there's a health situation identified in the school, we'd love to hear from you at the health department or from, at the Board of Health. Because
So
obviously.
you just said it, I honestly, and I sent those information out to UTL superintendent, principals, et cetera, all at the same time, so we try to be transparent in the things. I apologize. I'll make sure you're included in those.
Just, anything that affects health, we're interested in knowing about. But
Absolutely.
it sounds like you're being very thorough and, it's difficult to
Yeah.
know what the cause
I will say, I believe the building is safe. All the air quality tests that we've done, even though that we've seen visible mold, we cleaned it. The mold spore counts in the building are far less than what's outside. That may be due to the fact that we just got through doing a big cleaning and we had negative air pressure and HEPA filters running, shortly before that test. I don't know that, but, we're going to continue to do air quality testing from now until we get answers on what we think's happening. So at least once a week.
It's surprising that we don't maybe have more of a mold issue given the weather this summer, but have all the schools had a good look at?
Yeah, oh, yes. I thought you would say experiencing things. No, all the other schools, that's the only school we've experienced it. Now, we did have, a couple of years ago, during another very humid, we had several schools that we had mold on walls and stuff. And I think I've talked about mold before, is mold won't grow on, an organic surface. So if it's on a wall, we can wipe it, we can clean it. It's not like there's a water leak. It's really moisture in the building that's, the mold spores are collecting to the dirt and dust that's on the wall, even microscopic stuff. So, and we get that from the hygienist that says, this particular mold can be wiped and cleaned, and this is what you use. So we try to do all the right steps. Best we
Okay,
can.
great, thank you. Does the board have any questions? Thank you very much for
All
coming.
right. Thank you, guys. I'll get you some answers as soon as we've got them, okay?
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is in the packet, you have the Pride Star EMS reports and notifications submitted by John Kelly. Any questions on those reports?
No?
Okay. The next item on the agenda is an update and discussion on the current status of the Pride Star EMS contract.
Someone left their phone here. They'll be back for that soon. Was that Rick? Yeah.
Do you want to go get Ricky and tell him what to say?
David Daly from Pride Star EMS. Thanks for having us this evening. I have Brian Shanley and Chris Stick and John Chumley with me this evening. Last time we met in early August, we discussed a new contract for Pride Star. And during the last couple of weeks, we've had a couple email exchanges and discussions with the city just to kind of highlight some of those changes that were going to be proposed for the new contract. There's been some smaller ones since, mostly legal language, but I'll go over some of the major components. Sorry, I don't want
Sorry
that.
about that.
Good to see you.
Nice to see you, too.
Nice job.
Sorry.
I know he's a busy guy and he needs that phone a lot. I can tell him that. No, I don't want this phone. But we'll just go over briefly the major points that were changed. First was the removal of the dispatch fee. Second, in lieu of that, was the addition of a fourth dedicated unit. The third was language on the training that we added in. And then the fourth was just some, that the city added in some additional language on financial reporting that was previously not in the contract. So those are the kind of the four major points that had changed. And I know there's been some questions over the last week or so, particularly over the training piece and the training language. And I think we have an answer, hopefully have an answer for you tonight, as well as maybe some additional questions on what that actually entails. And then finally, just we had to strike some language regarding the financial, regarding some reporting piece that the city wanted us to. So we can go through these if you'd like specifically in the contract.
First of all, does the board have any questions or comments before we go into the details or after? Maybe after.
No, I have a question about the details.
go ahead.
Right?
Go ahead.
So specifically the last one, number nine, previously you guys were under the obligation to let us know if there were any complaints or instances, and now you want to make it only upon request. Is that how I'm reading this? And I apologize, I'm just seeing it right now for the first time.
No, we struck that language. That's been struck.
Because this board feels strongly that if you do have any instances, you should be reporting to us.
Absolutely. Yep, and we do that. Somewhere it had been added in there upon request, and that's been struck.
Okay.
So we can strike that. If that's not on your copy, it's on mine today.
Yeah, we don't have the
final okay.
final copy.
Yeah, that was the final copy that I got today, was upon request. That was the final one that I saw from Connor. Sorry.
That is actually correct. Internally, when we got those comments back, we struck it late this afternoon. So we have a copy here I can give to you to show what's been changed.
So, on that same note, number 8, upon request would also be struck?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, correct.
So 8 and 9 on our version, upon request would be struck.
That's correct.
And then I think if you're looking at, if the board's looking at the red highlighted area on page, the section on training, section 2A, talks about the first 50 employees trained, and that doesn't refer to the 50 during the whole term of the contract. It refers to,
No,
No?
we edited that as well. Now it used to read, it wasn't clear enough, correct? And we agreed. So now it reads for the first 50 employees trained during each contract year. So it's 50 per year.
okay. Okay. And was that it, Lisa? Are we missing anything that?
No, I think the only changes were on these 2 pages that were through the contract. Am I correct on that?
That's correct.
Okay.
Well, there's other changes, like striking out the financial, the
Oh,
payment.
sorry.
That's,
Yep.
Yeah,
that's not, but these are the only upgrades
Right.
since the last.
Since the last-
Since the last meeting.
Yes.
Right, yeah.
Yep.
Since the
So
last
there's a
meeting.
version after this one, and with those
With
changes.
this, basically striking those 2 upon request and then adding in the language about 50 employees per contract year.
Right.
And that should,
Okay.
And are you seeking our approval of this tonight?
we would
That the
prefer
hope?
that, yes, please.
I just have one other question, that there was something that was added that I don't think was in the last contract with regard to training and EMTs. Do we clarify?
Yeah, so what we include in the training is CPR, first aid, and choke saver. As you may or may not know, we host EMT classes throughout the year. And some of those times, that includes local firefighters or local police officers. It's a 3 months, 3 to 4 month course. It's cost $1,700. That's not included, and it really has never been included. And then our employees for their CEUs, continuing education credits, we use a digital platform called Prodigy for our employees, and that would not be included as well. But it never has been. So we just wanted to make that clear. That's all.
Okay, so right now, the Lowell Fire Department is reimbursing you for those, or not?
They don't use it. They do it themselves.
No, the EMT.
No, they do it
EMT
themselves.
training.
Yeah. They
The
do.
EMT training you do, and they reimburse you.
Yes, that's correct. For the actual EMT training, yes.
So nothing's really changing, you're just trying to clarify the
That's it.
training piece of the contract?
Correct, yes.
Okay.
Because internally, we've gone to from a didactic approach to an electronic approach for our employees, and it comes with a cost, and it's $85 an employee, to be honest. So it gets, the number of employees we have, it does get pretty costly pretty quickly, so.
Okay. Any questions, any from Lisa? Okay, so, I would entertain a motion to approve the, emergency response contract with the stated, not yet seen in writing, amendments to the contract. The assumption would be the board would see a hard copy of that in order to sign it. And so, provided that we get the amended contract, I would look for a motion to approve the updated emergency response contract. Do we have that motion?
I'll make that motion for you.
We have a first
Should I say that one closer?
and a second from Kathleen. All those in favor? We need
Aye.
a voice vote? So we need a voice vote also?
Joanne?
Yes?
Yes.
Erin?
Yes.
Allison? Kathleen?
Yes.
So I'll work with the law department to get that done, and then we will start the signatures with that. So that will start with the law department. We'll go to Pride Star, and then we'll work with Kerry to get the board signatures, and then work their way through the city, and then get its way back.
Yeah, I say 3 years.
No, we can. We're working a little bit faster these days. We've actually hired 2 new attorneys, and I believe there are 2 new attorneys starting at the end of the month. So
That's great news.
we're working a little faster.
You guys have been great to work with as always, so we appreciate it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the Tobacco Control Monthly Report submitted by CISA.
This is a sign-in sheet for those who want to speak on behalf of these stores. Anybody here representing Ornelas Liquors? No?
Susan, your report first.
Yes. Yes, I'm aware. So I've just submitted my report to you over the weekend. Are there any questions before we address the tobacco permit suspension hearings? We have 6 establishments before you tonight for tobacco permit suspension hearings. So if you have no questions unrelated to these, I'd like to begin addressing the violations.
Okay.
All right, so before we start calling individual stores, I just want to say the following regarding the compliance checks that were conducted. These were 2 rounds of compliance checks conducted on April 21st and May 15th. On April 21st, we used a 16-year-old girl. There's a photograph of that young girl there in front of you. And then on May 15th, we used an 18-year-old boy. We checked on April 21st, we checked 38 stores.
I'm sorry, can you just repeat the ages of those 2 folks?
Yes, the girl that you see there in the photograph is 16 years of age on the day of the compliance check, and the boy is 18 on that day.
Can I see that?
Yep. So
I'm sorry. Oh, is it going this way or the thumb?
the reason why we submit these photographs is more a matter of tradition now than actually relevance. And the reason why I say this is because before, the minimum age for selling tobacco to minors was 18 years of age, but it's been 21 for the longest time. The city adopted 21 as a minimum age, even before there was a state law saying the same thing. But as a tradition, we present you, so you can see, the looks of the kids that we use during compliance checks. But since the new state law adopted in 2019 require every retailer to ask for ID and inspect the form of identification, so the appearance of the purchasers are irrelevant.
Right.
On April 21st, we checked 38 establishments. Only 2 sold tobacco to a minor. The ones that are here before you tonight. And then for the compliance checks that were conducted on May 15th, we checked 34 establishments, only 4 sold. So at minimum, at least 88% of these establishments did the right thing. And on April 21st, at least 94% did the right thing. So just to put things in perspective. If you, before you call the first establishment, I just want to say that, these kids are they're recruited, trained to do compliance checks. The boy that you see before you was actually recruited to do compliance checks on behalf of the FDA through a state program. And the young lady that you see before you was recruited by me and trained by me to do these compliance checks. So on the day of the compliance checks, we took the photograph of these kids. They're not carrying anything in their pockets except that their phones, the cell phones, for safety reasons. And we give them the money, and they only carry the money we give them. For most of these purchases, they were given $20 to attempt to make a purchase. You probably want to call the first one so we can just start talking about the history of each of these establishments in turn.
So are we starting with High Street Gas and Convenience?
The violation occurred on April 21st. The interesting thing about this particular case was that the kid was asked for ID. Despite that fact, they sold a pack of Newport, this pack right here, for $12.99. The time of sale was 10:22 in the morning. And there's no prior sale to this particular store because this store got their first license last year, if I'm not mistaken. So this is the first offense of that particular store for selling tobacco to minors, simply because it's a brand-new store. The kid was asked for ID, but the kid was able to purchase tobacco anyways.
And he obviously didn't have any identification on him.
These kids don't carry identifications during compliance checks.
Okay. All right. Could you state your name and your business?
Yeah, my name is Ankit Patel, and High Street and Guest and Convenient.
Okay. And did you have something you'd like to say?
Yeah, I mean, personally, it wasn't me, it was one of the employees. I found out that he did ask for an ID, but the person said they did not carry an ID. But my employee said that the person didn't speak proper English, and he wasn't sure if he told, the employee told me that he looked 21. I know the looks, you shouldn't go by the looks.
It was a female, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, I was told it was a male, so I'm not really sure what happened there. I wasn't personally there. We have trained them better after we received the letter from the city. We also have put multiple stickers out there around the register where it says keep on checking for ID. And also it prompts up whenever you scan a tobacco product, it comes up saying verify the date of birth and age before you hand out the product.
Okay. Board have any questions?
No, but you do understand you're responsible for your employees and what they do regardless, right?
Yes, correct.
And you train them yourself when they
Yeah.
start about not selling tobacco to minors?
It was also a new hire employee when they just started about, I would say, less than a month ago. And that's why I think what they did was the reason what they did.
Thank you.
Yep.
I just want to add that, I should have mentioned this before, but before you, there's a packet for each of these establishments before you tonight. And as part of this packet, on the first page is you've seen this before, there's a purpose, there's excerpts of the regulations, both state and local, as well as some of the facts. One thing that I did differently this time is that I added the cease and desist order that was actually initially sent to each of these stores, as well as a copy of that tobacco permit application. And that is important because on the back of the tobacco permit application, there's, I think, 15 acknowledgments, 15 statements they have to acknowledge. And one of them is that they acknowledge that the minimum age for a purchase of tobacco products in the city is 21, and they also acknowledge that the state law required them to inspect a form of identification before they make a sale. So in this case, my recommendation is a 3-day suspension beginning on September the 25th. It's a Monday.
Do we have a motion for a 3-day suspension?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that you're in a unique situation from other people who have come before, so I would make the motion for a 3-day suspension with the $1,000 fine.
Second. We have a second? All those in favor? Okay. Thank you.
Roll call.
Yes.
Karen?
Allison?
Kathleen? Yes.
Caesar, did you want to say anything about you be notifying him of the dates or?
Yes, following this hearing, you're going to receive a certified letter explaining what you need to do before or in preparation for the suspension, which the most important thing is for you to remove all tobacco products before the time the suspension is to commence. So it's when you open up for business on the 25th, there should be no tobacco there on the shelves. And you should refrain from selling tobacco products for 3 consecutive business days. at the end of which you can just bring this tobacco back and start selling. I'll be swinging by on the morning of the 25th with a sign that you have to post on the door and keep it there for the duration of the suspension.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I would also just read, I guess, to all of you that this suspension and fine are standard and kind of built in. We don't have a lot of leeway. And so take it as a warning, because when you come back, the future gets a lot worse. And, we try and be nice and give you the minimum amount now, but it won't be true if people come back a second time.
Okay, the next one, Caesar, is Turcotte Liquors on Lawrence Street.
Yeah, this is a pack of cigarette that was purchased at Turcotte's Liquors on the morning of April 21st at 9:44 a.m. It's a pack of Newport for $12.15. There's a previous sale in this particular location back in 2019. I understand that the board have asked me to provide, previous violations. I forgot to mention that for the first, well, actually, I mentioned the first one. The first one didn't have any previous violations. This one had one in 2019. So, and that was before we began citing pursuant to the state law. So we don't count that one for the purpose of determining that this is a first offense. That minor was able to go in, asked for this pack of Newport, and was sold that pack of Newport without being challenged at all. She wasn't asked for ID. She wasn't challenged in any way, shape, or form. The person who made the sale was identified himself as Ezekiel.
Okay, thank you. Ma'am, would you want to state your name and your business?
Sure, my name is Linda, it's Turcotte Liquors.
And is there something you want to address to the board?
No, I don't disagree. We made a mistake. We did speak to the employee.
What was your name again?
Linda Freitas.
What's your relationship? How long is the wrong one? Turcotte Liquors?
Yes, that's correct.
I have.
Yeah, that's my father.
Okay, that's what I'm just trying to figure out the owner versus you. That's fine, thank you. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
No worries.
Okay.
So Zeke was spoken to same day. I think he was told that day when it happened. And he was trained, retrained about it. We're not saying that what we did was right, it was wrong. I do believe the violation in 2019 was smoking in the premise or right in front of the store.
It was listed under the state database as an enforcement violation, but it's usually
Yeah, it
related
was a
to,
violation.
it's just related to a compliance check conducted by us.
I just want to make it clear that the violation in 2019 was they were smoking in front of the store. It was
Not for this particular violation, no.
not this one, but the 2019.
No, the 2019 was actually a sale to a minor.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter, we're not concerned with it.
Okay.
Don't bring it up.
So, we did pay our fine. There's no argument on that. Apologize for it. My dad's been in business for over 35 years. Rules are rules, laws are laws. It is what it is.
Okay, thank you. We just suggest that, you ensure that your employees have been
Of course.
retrained and that the next time
Absolutely.
it would be twice the fine and a longer suspension. So you don't want to see us again.
I see you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, my recommendation is a 3-day suspension beginning on September 25th, which is a Monday.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Why is it so extreme with a $1,000 fine for a small business owner and a 3-day suspension?
That's what the state,
I understand the law in the state, but a mom and pop shop to pay a $1,000 fine and a 3-day suspension. It's just a question.
It's the level of,
It's just a little extreme. I'm not.
That's the law and law,
The law is law. I totally understand.
not the state.
It is the same
It is.
for a small business as it is for a big business.
It's
as
in the
well.
state regulation also.
it is a state regulation, local regulations, does the same thing. There's never been a time when there was a
Local
violation.
regulation mimics the state regulation.
Yeah.
But a sale to a minor has always included a fine and a suspension. The only thing that's different this time is that the fine, since the state law was adopted, that increased from for first offense, instead of $100, increased to $1,000. But there's always been a suspension and a fine for each sale to minor. Each violation now, as the way the state law reads, it doesn't have to be a sale to a minor. It could be even a signage violation. It still carries the same amount of a fine.
And, the board is not heartless if you feel, you've already paid the fine, but in past, when small businesses have requested it, we've allowed them to make the payment, pay the fine in separate payments over time.
I think some of that is historical because the state was struggling because so many minors are still getting access to tobacco. And this is the state saying, we're going to make it so painful that maybe we'll finally get people to stop selling it. So I think that's why it's so severe.
It wasn't done on purpose, too. Who wants to sell to a minor? No one. Understandable. Thank you.
So do we have a motion for a 3-day suspension?
I'll make the motion.
Second? Second. Thank you. All those in favor? Aye. Yes.
Hi.
Aye.
The next hearing is Towers Newsstand at 101 Gorham Street. Do you have anyone that wishes to speak?
Towers News. This violation occurred on May 15th at 10:22 a.m. approximately. This pack of Marlboro cigarettes was purchased at that location for $11.90 by the male youth that you see a photograph of in front of you. Just to put things in perspective, there were 2 violations at this particular location, but those 2 violations occurred in 2007. There hasn't been a sale to a minor since that time. That boy was able to go in, ask for the product without being asked for ID or anything else. The person who made the sale identified himself as James Grigg. And that's pretty much it.
Good evening, Paul Dunnigan Jr. from Tower News. As he just said, we got caught as well. A clerk was lectured. We've put up signs behind the counter, minimum age now, or the date you have to be born to buy cigarettes. So we're not going to argue it either. We got caught. We paid the fine. We're going to take the suspension.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just hopefully your current employees are aware of what it's
Everybody's
cost
been
you
lectured,
and
been lectured again and again. So
again, and, okay. Thank you for coming in though
Okay.
tonight, taking the time. Do we have a recommendation?
Yes, my recommendation is a 3-day suspension, 3 consecutive day suspension beginning September 25th.
And is that cigars as well, cigarettes, everything?
It's all tobacco products, including vaping products. The only thing that excludes is,
Products anyways, you guys don't
Right.
allow it. So
Right.
so the only thing that,
why you guys keep coming in trying to ask when you know we can't?
well, you can sell vaping products. You just can sell them with flavor,
What flavor? Okay.
yes. What was the question again? The
One
first question?
exception to you said all tobacco products except.
Yes, so that includes tobacco products and vaping products, but it excludes rolling papers if the rolling paper doesn't contain any flavor.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I'll make that motion.
Motion for 3-day suspension, seconded. Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Oh, yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, Caesar, the next site is Quick Mart at 1401 Gorham Street.
1401, the violation occurred on May 15th at 9:42 a.m. This pack of Marlboro cigarettes was purchased for $12 even. There's 5 previous sales to a minor occurred at that location, 1 in 2015, 1 in 2013, 1 in 2008, and 2 in 2007. On the day of this particular compliance check, that male youth was able to go in there and he purchased the tobacco product without being challenged at all. The person who made the sale was identified as Sami Patel.
So last violation was 07, you said?
No, 2015.
2015,
Sorry.
5 previous violations.
yes.
Which is why the state now has a $1,000 fine and 3-day suspension, in case you wonder just exactly what we're talking about. That people ignored it, and now it's made it more painful. So you can't ignore it.
Sorry, my name is Anil Patel and I work Quick Mart, and I'm sorry that happens. And next time we be careful in that, so not happens. Sorry, apologize.
Okay. Has the person who made the sale been educated?
Yes.
Okay. Do we have a recommendation?
Yeah, my recommendation is a 3-day suspension, 3 consecutive business day suspension beginning on September 25th.
I'll make that motion.
Second motion. A second? All those in favor?
Joanne, can you
Yes.
repeat the recommendation? I couldn't.
Caesar, the tobacco control officer is recommending a 3-day suspension.
Okay, thank you.
And now we have a vote going. Yes?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. The next site is Ornelas Liquors at Gorham Street. Do we have anyone that wishes to speak? No.
I don't think we have anybody here representing Ornelas Liquors.
Okay.
This violation, it's interesting because, well, this one happened on May 15th at 9:56 a.m. The person who made the sale was the same person who made the sale back in January. And his name is Mark. So Mark sold to the same boy back in January 13, I thought. Back in January. I don't want to quote the wrong date. So this is a second offense within 36 months. Pursuant to the state law, this is subject to a 7 consecutive business days tobacco permit suspension. This pack of cigarette was purchased, Marlboro pack of cigarettes, for $12.85 at 9:56 a.m.
So just to be clear, 2 times in 1 year.
Yes,
Same employee.
in same minor.
Recommendation?
My recommendation is for 7 consecutive business days suspension of that tobacco permit. Before this, the violation that occurred back in January, there was one that happened in 2013. So this is not their first rodeo.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that last part.
Yeah, this is, as far as previous violations are concerned, there was one that happened as well in 2013.
Okay. And this is the second in 2023.
This is the second within the last 36 months, yes.
Okay. Do we have a motion to suspend the license for tobacco sale for 7 consecutive days?
Was the fine already paid? Did they pay a fine?
Yes, they all pay their fines, yes.
I'll make that motion.
Effective September 25th also?
Yes.
Okay. Motion made. Second? Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Roll call?
Joanne?
Yes.
Bill?
Yep.
Yes.
Kathleen?
Yeah, I'm gonna sign off now, okay?
Thank you, Kathleen.
Okay, sorry, bye-bye.
The next facility is Quick Mart on 299 Chelmsford Street. Violation 515.
Yeah, this happened on 5/15 at 10:38 in the morning. This pack of Marlboro cigarettes was purchased for $12.50. By that point, they have a photograph in front of you. He was not asked for ID at all. He was not challenged at all. And at this particular location, there's 2 prior sales. They did not occur during our compliance checks. They occurred during compliance checks conducted by the FDA. So one happened in 2022, which is last year, and one happened in 2019. The reason why we are citing them as a first offense is because they did not have access to that violation when I went through the records. But in preparation for these hearings tonight, that's when I noticed that there was a violation through the FDA. The way the FDA works is, they do a compliance check today, and then it takes months for them to actually send either a fine or a warning letter. And that's why they were not counted towards this particular violation. So we count this as a first offense.
Well, when exactly was the FDA one?
22.
The first, the last one?
Well, the last one was in 2022, last year, and the previous one in 2019.
So if we were aware of an FDA violation, can we count that?
We could.
we could.
It'll be right in the system. I would prefer not to, because we have better control of what happens when we do it, because sometimes we don't have access to the details of that violation until months later. So it could have been something totally unrelated to actually sell to a minor, and they still cite it as a violation doing a compliance check, so.
Okay. All right. Sir, do you have anything, if you want to state your name?
Ethan Patel.
Okay.
I'm at the manager at the Quick Mart. And I told my employee all the time, just make sure do not sell any minor, like every week. I would say every day kind of, but it just happens. So.
You've had 3 violations in the last 5 years, if you include these FDA ones, which we're not counting.
So one of like Arion, there was left by mistake was 5% vape product, and I think that's the only one thing, I guess.
Okay. All I'm saying to you is there's repeated issues with tobacco in your store, and if you keep going that way, you're going to be out of business because the fines go up, the time goes up,
We'll
and.
make sure it will not happen again in future.
Okay.
We gotta-
Okay, thank you. The recommendation?
My recommendation is 3 consecutive business days suspension of that tobacco permit beginning on September 25th.
Do we have a motion to suspend the tobacco license for 3 days effective September 25th?
I'll make that motion.
Second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor? Roll call? Yes?
Yes.
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 Thank you. Thank you for coming down.
For next meeting, I have 5 more tobacco permit suspensions. Hopefully, it'll be just 5 for now. If you like to, I'm trying to make them no more than 8.
Did you have a question?
Yes, so to start from 25th to 28, 9:25.
Well, it begins on the 25th, and then it goes until the end of the 27th. So it depends what time you open and close the business. But it goes from the time you open the business to the time you close the business. If you open 24 hours a day, so you begin like 12 a.m., 12:01 a.m. That's when you begin
On 27th,
on the 25th.
At midnight.
27th.
On the 25th through the 27th. So you can begin selling on the 28th.
20.
But the letter will say that to you,
Sure.
okay?
Thank you.
So that there'll be 5 establishments before you. If you want to know who the violators are, I can just provide that to you right now. But they'll be included in my report for next month.
And they'll be coming to, we'll have a hearing before the board?
Yeah, 5 establishments
Okay.
at this stage, right now, yeah. Just to wrap this up, I mean, what you see in front of you is that what you're dealing with every time is there's 2 regulations that they're concurrently applying to these establishments. One is a state regulation and one is a local regulation. Our local regulation was recently amended by you, and now it has those changes that I proposed, those 10 changes that we discussed before. So that's why when I provide you with that sheet, purpose, rule, summary of the facts, I have to include those 2 things, those reference to those 2 regulations to keep things in perspective, so you know exactly what's before you. What I don't include as part of this particular thing is about the fines, because the fines have been taken care of. If somebody requests an appeal, then I provide with a full excerpt of that provision.
Melanie, I think this is great. I like it. No, Melanie, personally, on your summary of facts, the previous offense, maybe something like that.
You want me to add that? Okay, I can add
That
that.
would be awesome.
Yeah, we'll do it.
I do think it's important to know, like, I think, these folks tonight weren't arguing their error, but some folks do, and I think it's nice to know that, they had 3 previous violations.
Will do. It's going to be right in the summary of the facts.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank
You have a
you.
good night.
Appreciate it.
Next item on the agenda for review and discussion is a request to reactivate the Quincy Skin course for tattooing. we previously had approved the Quincy Skin course, and then I think they stopped offering it.
So Ruth, their nurse, used to be the person, Ruth, their nurse, was the person who used to conduct the skin course. And she retired probably 3 or 4 years ago, so they had stopped offering it. I got a call last week. They have a new director, and he is reinstituting the skin course. They have partnered with BU to develop the course. And he had asked that if we would be, the board would be interested in putting it on our, back on our list of approved providers for the tattoo artists.
It does include all the things that we specifically
Yeah,
request.
he's willing to send a syllabus if you would like. It's just the slides are proprietary to be used, so you won't be able to send the
It's
slides.
essentially the same course. I mean, there's no material difference cutting
Not
things
according
out.
to what he said, no.
No problem.
So does anyone have any issues with that?
No.
Okay.
Do we have to vote that, or is it just?
Just information.
Great, thank you.
Okay. The next item on the board,
Motion?
Oh, sorry, I missed the
Motion.
motion.
Second.
second, all those in favor, aye. The next item on the agenda is a request to address the board regarding body art regulations. We have a request from Julia and Letitia.
You guys didn't get enough of us the first time. You had to come back for more.
I have more white hair now.
Hello.
Hi. Thank you, sorry.
Thank you.
I can begin.
Yes.
My name is Leticia. I have a beauty salon in Middlesex Street. I am here. Honorable members of the Board of Health from Lowell. We stand before you first with gratitude for making this license possible. Second, we would like to humble ask for this board, please revise section 1101 to please allow us to offer apprenticeship. Otherwise, how low will have more licensed microblade artists. We also would like to ask revision on the part that make our work contingent to eyebrows, as we want to offer other services like nipple reconstruction. Thank you. Apologize because English is not my first language.
That's fine.
You're doing
English
great.
is very good.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, so I guess we can have a discussion about the two different requests. The first request is a request to add to the regs the ability for body art practitioners to allow apprenticeships in as part of their practice. Body art referencing microblading.
So I guess my question is, does that typically require a separate thing of approval?
Yeah, like the tattoo art.
Right, do all the other body art artists in Lowell have the ability to have apprentices?
The tattoo parlors, yes. So they are one person per practitioner at a time. It's a 2-year apprenticeship program with specific goals.
And those apprenticeships are, they're already preset. Somebody has set up what an apprenticeship is in tattooing.
A full set of
Right.
regulations. We had for an apprenticeship that everybody must follow. So it's a minimum of 1,800 hours, 2 years, no less of
Right.
experience. You have to be under a licensed
Right.
because the state does not license instructors in tattooing and body art, so.
No, I guess my question was, did we make up those rules or did that come from somewhere else?
That was some Billy Ray, I don't know if you remember Billy from, and Chuck Diamond from Lowell.
So they came up with the 1,800 hours and the,
No, the board did.
Yeah.
So they asked that one be developed, so.
okay.
Right, so, but where do we get, so do we draw on those apprenticeship guidelines that are in the regs from other communities or from the state or anywhere? I don't
The state
remember.
doesn't have any body art regulations, so, and I believe it's just what wanted, but I'd have to go back and look at the.
Well, we must have drawn them from,
Does like the city of Boston have this kind of guidelines or whatever?
just the
Right.
city of Boston or other cities allow,
Apprenticeships?
microblading practitioners to have apprenticeships.
Madam Chair, can I just ask a question? So Julia, I believe you practiced in Alston or something. Can you just come to the podium for question? Can you come up for a second?
Yes.
So I believe you practiced somewhere else before, right?
Yes, I also practice at Alston. So right now in Alston, my friend that owns a place, she's giving apprenticeship for 40 students. Right here in Chelmsford, Rennie Lisa Artistry, she has been giving apprenticeship since 2016, I believe. She usually have 4 students at a time, and those students are given 100 hours of training.
So I think that's a little bit different. So having an apprentice and having a student are two different things. So like me being a registered nurse, having a student is completely different than having an apprentice. You shouldn't have more than one apprentice at a time. So I believe those are two different things. So what you're asking for is you're asking for all of the regulations to be redone. Okay, so you're asking for all of the regulations to be redone, which you know that took a year to happen. So what you're asking for is for that whole process to be restarted again. No, I'm telling you.
Oh,
I'm not asking you. I'm telling you.
No,
Okay.
wanna go through
No.
that again.
I'm telling you that's what has to happen.
Oh,
Okay.
In order to,
Yes.
to
I'm-
change the regulation, it has to
So
go through the
maybe we
process.
are not saying it in the right way. So what we want is we want to be able to have students because it's a common practice between microblading artists to teach, especially people like Leticia and me. We are 5 years in the profession. Most of the people is 1 year or months into the profession, and it's a common practice. It comes with the work that when you are licensed and we are part of associations, you should be able to teach what you know.
So let me ask you, back up a second. What did you do to train to do the microblading? What did you personally do to learn microblading? Were you a student that went for 100 hours and then you just opened up your own shop? Or were you a student that went for 100 hours and then you had an apprenticeship after that in a place with somebody to do?
So what I did, I did multiple classes, online and in person, and I did 100 hours presence apprenticeship in Alston.
So that's what you're calling, just to be clear, because,
No, sorry.
no,
100 hours.
so we want to make sure we're very clear on student versus apprentice.
Yes.
An apprentice is somebody who's already been a student and is now just training to be that professional. The student is learning for the first time. So you're talking about 200 hours as a student, and then after that, you're free to go on your own.
No, 200 hours as apprentice.
After being a
Because
student.
to have the license right now, the city is asking for 100 hours apprenticeship, right? This is the apprenticeship. So a student is after you just take the class.
Right.
So it's two different things. So we want to be able to do both, essentially.
You want-
Train students, and then if those students want to have apprenticeship, we want to be able to give apprenticeship for them, because my question is, how Lowell gonna have other licensed microblading artists? So they're gonna have to go to Chelmsford, put the money there in that artist, instead of doing here when the city already have licensed artists.
Make no sense. Instead of putting the money here in the city, they're gonna have, if they wanna be microblading artists now here in Lowell, they're gonna have to go to Chelmsford, give the money to the Chelmsford artists, do the apprenticeship there, and then get the apprenticeship paper from her and bring here to Lowell to open a place here.
So I guess I'm confused, I'm sorry. I'm confused about the difference between students and apprenticeships.
Apprentice students make 100 hours just learn to learn.
Just
watch,
watching?
Watch.
Yes.
No hands-on.
No hands-on.
Okay.
Apprenticeship, we
Hands-on.
hands-on.
Right.
And we
And how long is an apprenticeship usually?
So before in Alston was 200 hours and they went down to 100. No, sorry, it was 100 hours and they went up to 200. Sorry.
So 100 hours as a student and 200 hours of apprenticeship
Yes.
before someone typically in Boston can.
I'm gonna correct her. You don't have to be a student for 100 hours. They don't ask. Nowhere is asking for a total amount of hours as a student to give you license. They are asking as a total amount of hours as apprenticeship to give you license. You can went and did a 5 days class and you are a student and you got graduated from this class and you are a microblading artist, okay? But that doesn't give you the right to work. You're gonna have to be apprenticed for somebody, get the hours from apprenticeship, and then apply. So if somebody wanna do, for example, if the apprenticeship is approved today, and we're gonna be able to have people doing apprenticeship with us, they're gonna have to go to the board, apply for that apprenticeship with the Board of Health, and they're gonna get an apprenticeship license. That's why it also had the apprentice license everywhere. And after they complain the 100 hours or 200 hours, what you guys determine, then they're gonna be able to go back and get the license to open their own place in Lowell.
Okay, but what the HHS director was saying, Ms. Golden, is that we can't grant you that apprenticeship, even though I don't know what the board's opinion is. I don't have a problem with setting up the guidelines for an apprenticeship, but we can't do that without changing the regulation.
Okay.
So it has to go like it did before through the law department and back here and a public hearing and that whole process to change the regulation.
I just don't understand why that was put there in the law, because I understand when I spoke with Carrie that the board decided not to have apprenticeship for Lowell, and this is like such a big process, and I didn't pay attention that part. I should, but I didn't read the whole document, and I don't understand why, because it's something that is part.
So regardless of how we got here,
Yeah.
because none of us know how we got here, and I'll agree with Joanna. I don't have an issue with you trying to set up an apprenticeship.
Yeah.
You just need to accept the fact that, well, I won't speak for you two, but assuming this board says it's okay, then the next is to you to propose a apprenticeship to us. How many hours? I assume they have to have a graduation from a school or whatever, saying they've done that, and all the other requirements that Carrie will go over, and current, like CPR and those things.
Yeah.
And then you would come and propose that to us, and then if we agree, then we go through that whole process. So at least maybe a year or from now, whenever you'll get that, we can try and make it as quick as we can. But none of us here can speed that up. We can only agree with you in principle that we'd like you to do that. We think it's okay, and then we just need to get a proposal to the rules to accept.
Okay, so we're gonna have to stop offering the service through this process?
You're gonna have to what?
Yes.
We
Stop
have to
offering
stop offering this service? Like we can't?
You cannot. No, you can do microblade. You just can't you can't have apprentices yet.
Okay.
So what she's saying to you is not that the rules stop. We have to start all over again from scratch. What you did before. She's telling you it's going to take the same amount of time that took to do this.
Okay.
Right. That's all.
So I feel we don't have another option. Like I don't know how we got here, as you said, but so I think we do need that. It's not having this. It's gonna be hard for us, like economically.
You sold us. It's okay.
Okay.
Right? But so I would ask you guys to talk to Carrie about getting a proposal for us to vote on.
Okay.
I will comment this. I do need to comment on the written request that you wrote. To be clear, I get very nervous when I see that you want apprenticeships because you might get sick or not be around. Apprentices are never going to be allowed to practice on their own. So you need to understand that. So they will help you recruit people to work with you when they're done. But don't,
They are done.
yes, but not while they're apprentices. You can't have an apprentice to help you when you're sick or not around,
Yes.
right? Okay.
But my point is, how we gonna multiply the number of licenses?
As long as that's the reason why, that's fine.
Yeah.
But the way it's written, it sounds like you need an
Yes.
apprentice for when I'm sick. And I didn't think that was your intent, but I want it on the record that that's not allowed. That's all.
It's just like speaking in English is a effort.
You're doing fine.
Writing is like extra the effort. Yeah.
You're doing fine. You are.
And so does the other two board members, is apprenticeship, the plan to update the regulations with allowing an apprenticeship proposal, which we haven't seen yet, but is
Yeah.
that?
I mean, you sold it. I think that's great. Yeah.
Okay. So the next step is to give us a proposal for what you see as appropriate for apprenticeship. You could base it on Alston's or Chelmsford's or whatever. We
Okay.
don't,
Yeah.
we don't mind borrowing. And then Kerry would bring it to the board and we'd send it to the law department to amend the regulation.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Okay, and the second item is, I think a lot has some more controversy than the first, with regard to nipple reconstruction for cancer survivors. My understanding is we had this conversation, and that generally that was to be done under the auspices of a physician. And I'm not sure that it's done anywhere without a medical practitioner involved. But I don't know the answer to that. Do you know?
No, in Austin, I mean, in Boston, are they doing it without physicians?
Everywhere they are doing without physicians is not realistic to want a doctor to be present. We charge some people charge from $300 to $500 for this kind of procedures. A doctor will not stick around to work for a person that does body art to get a commission, So it's not realistic.
Well, I guess I asked this question before, last year during this whole thing, and I thought that it wasn't that the doctor was present, but that the person was supervised or had some
I think it had to be in the same building, though.
Building,
It was
yeah.
very strict, yeah.
same
I am-
office or something.
I am sorry, any of you has some kind of this service done, because right now those services are being offered everywhere, and people are doing their mouth with permanent lipstick. They are doing the eyebrows. They are doing eyeliner. They are doing nipple reconstruction for cancer patients. So I believe that 6 years ago, 5 years ago, this was something that was not everybody was aware of what was about, but it has walked a long way. And now today is as you going to get another services as a facial, of course with its own regulations, but it's a beauty treatment, and it's I can just tell the board to look around, because everywhere in Wilmington, we have brow lady microblading. She's giving apprenticeships. She's doing lips. Her
Okay.
husband does scalp.
Okay.
Stick to
Yeah,
the
so
topic, right?
let's stay on topic of nipple reconstruction. So are you aware of any regulations in other communities that are written to allow nipple reconstruction under the microblading license?
It's
What
under
I would
the
suggest-
body art. It's
Pardon
the
me?
I thought it was
same. It's
under
the
body
same as the microblading under body art.
Body art.
It's body art. It's
Right.
semi-permanent makeup.
Right, but are you aware of local regulations, body art regulations that allow nipple reconstruction and actually address it in the regulation? Or are you saying they're doing it Not
It's allowed by
necessarily part of the regulation.
I can go pick it up. This is exactly part from Alston. They have a girl she's aware of everything, Fantasia. And in Boston, people are doing inside the body art license. Everything.
All those things. You're saying,
Lipstick, permanent lipstick, airliner, eyebrows. It's all going inside the body art.
so they don't separate, it's all microblading? Is that all microblading?
This is not microblading.
It's just body art.
Microblading is for eyebrows.
Just the
This is
eyebrows.
Body art, semi-permanent makeup, body art. Yes.
It's just a technique, right? I'm just trying to figure out, so what none of us really know is why the rules in Lowell were written the way they were to begin with, that specifically said this. We have specific regulations about nipple reconstruction, nipple tattoos. I don't know where that started or what. It wasn't me.
Well, is
Really?
it nipple tattoo or
It didn't
nipple
exist before me. I would never have put it in there, though.
Construction is not tattoo because it's done with the same semi-permanent machine that is used for lips and is used for eyebrows.
I'm getting old.
Okay, because I guess
It
my
didn't exist
ignorance is
before?
I'm not sure exactly.
Can I just make a suggestion?
Yes.
If we're going to be revisiting this anyway, when The Apprentice is revisited, maybe we can get something from Alston and discuss this when we revisit, because I'm not sure if the board would like to revisit the nipple reconstruction and then when we have The Apprentice revisit it again, or maybe we can get some information on both of them and revisit it all at the same time versus bogging down the law department.
Right, but we're not going to
Yeah.
send it twice to the law department.
I can compromise in getting everything, the information together and just pass on.
That'd be great. If you could get it to us before the packet goes out for the next meeting,
Okay,
that would move things along.
yes.
All right.
We're gonna work.
Thank you.
And then, can I just bring something up, because Jimmy left, but Julia was on the part before from Jimmy's inspection about this, from Dawn's part about the failed sink. So I don't know if that was fixed or not.
It was fixed. I bought almost $2,000 sink.
Okay, thank you. That's all we need to know.
Everything that
Thank you.
Dawn went and asked, I fixed.
Thank you so much. Okay, thank you.
Yes, it's done.
Thank you for coming
Okay,
in.
so get us the information and
Yes, yes. Thank you. Appreciate
You can just email it to me.
Okay.
Thank you.
I
Thank you.
I'm evolving as a board member and a doc.
Very good. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the update on the West Nile virus situation. We have a, Ms. Golden, did you want to have anything?
Yes. So at the end of August, I believe it was the 25th, there were 3 mosquitoes found in the northwest section of Lowell with West Nile virus. So you have a press release and then I believe a code red message that was sent out to the Pawtuckettville area, and then an area that was sprayed from that area. And there was quite a bit of messaging that went out. The area that was sprayed included 3 schools, and there was a lot of messaging that went out to those schools prior to them being sprayed.
Okay, does the board have any questions? No? Okay. The next item is the discussion of exemptions for childhood vaccinations. So I had a conversation with our local representative, our local senator, Kennedy with regard to a bill that he filed requesting that religion be no longer an accepted reason to exempt a child from mandatory vaccinations. So there's legislation seeking to tighten the current law around childhood vaccinations. As you may know, the religious exemptions have increased as the anti-vaccine movement has increased. And I'm told that there are currently no known religions that require their members not to be vaccinated, their children, school-age children, to not get the standard childhood vaccines. And so the board is looking for, I'm looking for from the board via our representative, any information that you folks are interested in. And they're looking to, and I can go over more detail, but they're looking for a letter of support from the board towards this legislation. And I think Kerry sort of gave us the summary in the packet of the information articles that we have around that. Massachusetts has a very good vaccination rate. There are states that have already removed religion as a possible exemption. The closest to us, I believe, is Connecticut. And they removed religion as an exemption, I believe, a number of years ago. What's that? Connecticut, Maine, and New York are the closest ones.
So then I have a comment, and I have two comments. The first one is, I support this generically. However, I don't feel that all immunizations should be mandated. So there are specific ones like the ones mentioned here that I think are important. There are others like Gardasil for HPV that I consider to be less relevant from the sake of school. So I don't think there should be a blanket. You have to have every childhood vaccination recommended by your pediatrician or by the state. It should be certain ones that are communicable and liable to cause a significant outbreak within the school.
Right, and I believe that,
So I have diphtheria, pertussis, tetanus, measles, polio. Those are the ones that are in this. Is this a proposal? What is this?
no, that's the current law.
That is the current law.
So this legislation would only apply to those
To
that
these
are currently
vaccines.
mandated.
Got it.
It wouldn't have any, HPV isn't in the current mandate, right?
And neither is the flu nor COVID.
Right, flu or COVID, no. It would just be the ones that are already currently mandated for school-age children.
And currently Lowell only has last year's report only had a 3% religious exemption. And through all of the incoming students through the summer, there were no religious exemptions that were requested.
Good to know. Yeah, so, any other,
I'll defer these two first before I say anything.
Allison or Aaron?
So we're asking to, sorry, I really can't speak tonight. So we're asking to put a letter in support. Is that what?
So, a letter of support to the legislature for this legislation that has been proposed. It hasn't gone anywhere yet. I don't believe it had its first hearing before the healthcare committee, but it hasn't been voted on yet and hasn't gone anywhere yet.
So just my quick summary is, you want us to say, like, they're asking, this board supports the proposed legislation that would remove all religious exemptions to the required vaccines.
To these four.
Yeah, those ones, right. Yeah, no, just really, I understand.
So medical
very quick, that one line.
exemptions would continue.
The Lowell Board of Health supports the proposed legislation that would ban all religious exemptions to the specific vaccines currently in state law that are mandated for school.
Yeah, I can get that list for you specifically.
Well, isn't it here? This is
This is what it says. I don't know if there's anything.
That's a
after
terribly
this,
worded
but
document, by the way.
It was very
Yeah.
brief, so.
Diphtheria, DPT, measles, and polio. Yeah, I mean, no, hepatitis is not a required school
I
vaccine.
thought it was. I think it might be. Yeah.
Hep B
Yeah.
is now?
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
need to see what the list
Yeah, so we also need the copy of the legislation to make sure that we know what's in it.
I mean, we can make a generic, well, I
We
just
can-
want
we
you
can put
two
it
to
on
speak
next
before I
month's
say it.
agenda. Let's get a copy of the legislation. And maybe a draft.
So there was 0 this year and 3% last year.
That's interesting, because there are a lot of places that the religious exemptions are going up. I'm glad that Lowell isn't one of them.
It's because Lowell doesn't read the internet? I don't know.
Okay, all right, the next item on the agenda?
You guys can answer generically whether that's something in general. Details we determine if that's in general, or you are like, no, I would never put that in. Never support it.
Um,
I think we just need to be clear on just more.
It's principle.
So I guess what.
We're not voting anything, I just want to know that if you guys.
Yeah, we won't go forward with looking unless,
And this is just a letter that we would plan to support. That doesn't mean that
right,
they would actually vote to pass it through.
no, well, no.
And I don't care what the board, they care about the constituents, who's voting.
Yeah. Erin, did you have any reservations?
Like just that it's it's just a small percentage of like what's actually being asked for, but I kind of just be kind of neutral to it, but.
So along those lines, that's why I showed that to my wife, of course, I want to get her opinion. She said she's not aware of any pediatricians in the Lowell area that don't require those vaccines for this. They won't take patients if they don't get them. Most of them, most pediatricians in here will not take them unless you get MMR, you know, the regular, not necessarily COVID, flu, whatever. but
Right,
These
no,
ones,
no,
they won't take
right.
them unless
Oh,
they
yeah.
get it, right?
Well, yeah, and so I guess the impetus is that the children that are compromised in the classroom with kids that are unvaccinated, that's also a concern where, you know, you might see more kids that are coming to school that are compromised and at risk for,
It only takes one.
yeah.
Anyway, all right, so
Okay.
next.
Next is,
Sorry, I'm filling my duties, John duties of, you know, keeping this thing rolling.
okay. The next item on the agenda is old business, that just a review of another air quality report.
Great, it was good, perfect.
It looked good. Anything, Lisa, on the high school that you need to tell us about?
No, not that I know of.
The next item is just an update on the location of the November meeting will be in the DPD Hammer Conference Room. Yes, second floor. That's not the October meeting, but the November meeting. The next item is the director's report, division reports. I will just say that my substance abuse and prevention report had page 2 and page 6 were blank. I don't know if everyone else's.
Yep. There must have been a page break on it.
So, just an FYI. And the public health nursing, yeah, the public health nursing report. I just had a question. Lisa, do we know when the new variant COVID vaccine is going to be available to us? Or does DPH know when they'll?
So I know that Nicole just sent me an email today that I didn't read about that. So I know they're hoping that it will be at the end of October, but I'm not quite sure about that. So I know there was a new email with that.
End of October.
I think so.
So I guess we'll jump right into your report, and maybe you can tell us what's happening around the COVID numbers.
So the COVID numbers are slowly going up in the wastewater. Hospitalizations are going up a little bit. Test numbers are going up. But from what I hear, it's not the new variant. It's Omicron still. So that's when they're testing for this subtype.
They are testing for this subtype?
Select testing at the state.
Oh, at GPH.
Correct.
Dr. Galvin, did you want to say anything about the hospitalizations? Or?
No, it's not significant. It's that I've heard, but
Are they like incidental findings, or are they coming in sick because of COVID?
No, the only time we test is with the symptoms now. We don't really test anymore, so I can't compare numbers to the old. It's up in the last couple of months since we stopped testing. It's gone up a little bit, the numbers, but they're still small numbers. It's not huge numbers. And we don't know the true amount because we're not testing everybody like we were before.
correct.
Just seems like anecdotally we're hearing of people that, more and more people each week that have COVID.
And the people in the community that are sick, like the workers that are sick, are not sick as long or as sick. And there is still Paxlovid out there that people are getting, and they're responding with Paxlovid. So the strain that they have is still responsive to it.
Okay. So just for the public's awareness, currently there's a COVID vaccine available on Tuesday evening at the health department.
Correct.
And then the hope is that at the end of October, there will be a vaccine that has the new variant
Right.
Included in the vaccine.
Right. But there still is vaccine available at CVS, Walgreens, that is available, a bivalent vaccine available for.
But not the current variant.
Correct. But it's not widespread currently, so people can get vaccinated for what's available.
So what testing they are doing, they're seeing that people have Omicron and not the current,
Correct.
or the latest.
That's being seen overseas.
Okay.
Correct.
And,
Right.
and
So-
so you can continue, go ahead.
I just wanted to mention on the substance abuse report, so last week was Opioid Overdose Awareness Day on the 31st. So we did have an event here at City Hall, and we did give out Narcan. So the district attorney did come and speak at that event. She was the keynote speaker, and she did say for the first 8 months when she ran the numbers on September 1st, the numbers in Lowell are down. There were 14 fatal overdoses, so we're down 50% from last year to this year. So that was nice. The co-op was very happy about that. So those numbers are down. Yes, so there were. Right, so the overdoses are up, but the fatal overdoses are down. Right, so they are giving out Narcan, and when I spoke to Pride Star, there's more Narcan given prior to them arriving on the scene, and there's more Narcan being given, and they're training more people for Narcan, but there are less fatal overdoses.
And now, did I hear that recently Narcan's available over the counter? That
Narcan's available over the counter, so you can get it free for some insurances. Some insurances you pay, but the co-op can give it to you for free as well. So we do have a grant that you can get Narcan for free as well. So yes, and then this is Andres's biggest month for syringe pickup. I believe it was 2,000. I think he broke 2,000. So unfortunately, coming up soon will be a second syringe coordinator that will be hiring full-time for the city of Lowell. So that should be posted soon. So that's not good. We are down a substance abuse coordinator. That job just came down, so I'll be interviewing for that. We're hiring a social work for homelessness. And we just there'll be one public health nurse is being hired. She was she had her physical this week. We have a second one that we interviewed who's interested in a job. We just hired 2 school nurses, and we have 1 more job posted. So a lot of information for me to remember.
Oh, the finance person?
Oh, yeah. Deputy Director of Finance, has had a physical. And then we have like a grant position that's posted. So we're getting there. Yes, so we have a lot of things going on. The Health Department is on the up and up.
Great.
Love to hear that.
Yes,
Must be the leadership.
must be.
Thank you, Ms. Golden.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second? Second.